Hello everyone, it's Sean from TaekwondoSean.com, and today we're going to cover the front kick, up chagi. All right, check it out. Up chagi, front kick, the snapping kick, is one of the most basic kicks in Taekwondo, but it's also one of the most used. It's in almost every single pumse, and we got to make sure that from the beginner day that we start learning it to where we're using it in pumse and competing, that the front kick is good and sharp. So today we're going to cover some warm-ups for it, how to do it properly, and also some exercises how to strengthen your leg in a specific way for the front kick to get better and stronger. So let's start with the warm-up. You want to make sure that you're getting your legs warmed up, so any kind of jogging or maybe jumping jacks would be really good for getting the legs ready for front kick. And then stretching wise, we have two really good stretches for you. First stretch, you're going to be putting your legs up, and then you can practice your balance and having your toes up, toes down, toes all around. But you're practicing squeezing it because this is actually the chamber position for the front kick. And then we'll do the other side. Try to keep our balance so you're not even hopping around if you can, and then bring it as close to your body as you can. Good. Now the other stretch that we think is really good for this front kick is where you go down into a very large stance, all 10 toes pointing the same direction, and then you just push down as much as you can. And it's actually going to stretch the hip flexor right here in front, which is going to help you be able to kick higher and more smoothly. Then the other side, same thing. And you want to squeeze down. Squeeze your body down to the ground. Make sure your hips line up, just like when you're doing a front kick. All right, now the best way to learn any kick in Taekwondo, there's 3 steps. On the ground, assisted, and then doing the kick by yourself, of course. So let's start on the ground. All right, so front kick, you want to make sure your knee is bent, toes straight, so all the way from your knee to your toes is a straight line. Bend it as much as you can, and then kick straight out until your leg is fully extended, and then back. Straight out, and then back. Straight out, and then back. Straight out, and then back. And then you start doing relax. Make sure you don't relax the foot though. We don't want any noodle feet. Like this. You gotta make sure your foot is always under tension. Kick and back. Kick and back. Relax, and then strong. Good, then the other side, same thing. You want to make sure your knees bent, toes straight all the way down, kicking with the top of your foot, the paltung. Keep the foot under pressure. Now when you're first starting out and keeping your foot under pressure, you might get the foot cramp. Push through it. Make sure you keep trying. Take a rest when you get the cramp, and then keep working on it, and eventually the cramping will stop because your muscles are learning what to do. All right? Now, next step. The next step is to use our friend, the chair. Now, assisted means that we can focus not just on our balance and our coordination, but on the kick itself while standing, which is what we want to do. We want to isolate just the kick. And then eventually when we feel good and balanced and we're prepared for it, we can let go of the chair and do it by ourselves. So we're going to start with the chair, using it as support. Then you're going to grab onto the chair, bend your knee, and just hold this chamber position. Now when you're doing the chamber position, you can actually pivot this bottom foot. I'll face the camera here. So I have my foot facing the camera, and as I bring my other knee up, my hips are going to be under a lot of tension, so I can actually pivot this bottom foot to relieve some tension as well as improve my balance. Because if my foot is pointing directly forward, I have very good forward and back balance, but my left to right balance will be very small. So if I turn my foot 45 degrees, all of a sudden I have better all-around balance. So as I bring my knee up, I can pivot this bottom foot, and I'm here in my chamber. Make sure you squeeze it as much as you can. Your foot shouldn't be out slightly like this. It should be bent as much as it can, and knee as high as you can, and then bring it back. 1, 2. Do it a couple of times each leg, and then we're going to practice the actual kick. So make sure it's bend, extend, bend. So let's do it together. I have my chair. Bend, pivot your bottom foot, extend, bend, and back. Try again. Bend, extend, bend, and back. Bend, extend, bend, and back. And then we'll try the other leg. Make sure you do the whole motion. Bend, extend, Bend, extend. Good. Now one thing to look out for is we don't want to go on our tippy toes, because yes, it will relieve more tension that we're feeling in our muscles and our legs, but at the same time we're going to lose balance, right? Right now I have my whole foot is a nice strong base for my body to balance on. If I go on my tippy toes, that base becomes much smaller. There's a much higher chance of falling backwards. We've seen it a lot. So make sure you guys keep your foot flat when you do the front kick. Pivot, come back. On the other side, pivot, but keep it flat on the ground. All right, so now we're going to try it without the chair. Now when we're doing it without the chair, we want to make sure that we are safe. So only graduate to this point if you can balance and if you've been practicing the kick enough that you can perform it without having to think too much. All right, so front kick, make sure you put your hands up, always starting from a good gyeorugi chumbi position, the sparring stance. And then from here, you're going to bring your knee up and hold it. Because if you guys can start the kick whenever you want, you're in self-control. When you guys are done the kick, don't put your foot down right away. If you can hold this position after the kick, you have the self-control. You're the boss, not the kick, right? You're the boss. So let's do it again. Try to hold it and then put it down on your terms. Try the other side. Ready? Kick. Put it down on your terms. So make sure you guys can do this. If you guys are able to self-control throughout the kick at the beginning and the end, you guys are going to be really good. All right? Now, it's time for some workouts that are really going to help the front kick, the up chagi. So the best workout, in my opinion, for this kick is the lunge. Now, when you do the lunge, you want to make sure your legs are 90 degrees. Now from here, what you're going to do is you're going to explode upwards using the power from the quad that's down to drive your knee up, kick, and then bring it back down, and then reset. Make sure your foot is pointing straight at the beginning, and then as you kick, it can pivot, and then come back down. So you do that a couple times each leg. And then one more exercise, which is really good for the front kick, the up chagi, is the squat. So what you're going to do is open your legs, slightly wider than your shoulders is good. Your feet can flare out slightly, and you're going to turn your knees so that your knees are actually on top of your feet. Okay? So when they build the house, you want to make sure it's support, straight on top to help support, another support, and then the roof. So for me, when I squat, I want to make sure my knees are on top of my feet so that there's nice strong support, and then it comes together from my hips. And then I come up, and then as I'm coming up, I'm going to kick with one foot, and then come back to exactly where it was before, in control, very important. And then I squat down again, make sure my knees are on top of my feet, come up, front kick. Come down, make sure you reset the squat, come down, come up, make sure we're in good posture the whole time. Make sure the kick is good, bending your knees before and after, and then do that a couple of times. And your leg kicks are going to be looking way stronger. Oh, and one bonus feature of the front kick, it's really good in self-defense. I bet you can imagine how. Dangerous. So that's the front kick, the up chagi. You're only going to see it in Taegak 1장, 2장, 3장, 4장, 5장, 6장, 7장, 8장, 고려. In fact, it's only until kumgang, the second degree black belt pumse, that you're going to do this kick in every single one of those pumse. So make sure we practice this kick well. It might be the most basic kick that we learn on our first day of Taekwondo, but it's also one of the most important kicks in Taekwondo. All right, so make sure you guys keep practicing well, train hard, and we'll see you guys on the mats.